You're listening to Alabama Tradition with Ryan Fowler and Martin Houston on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. 17 national championships, 27 SEC titles, 131 first-team All-Americans, 70 postseason appearances, 39 postseason victories. This is Alabama football. And this is Alabama Tradition with Martin Houston and Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Into the conversation as we open up Alabama Tradition, and keep in mind that this tape delayed, we're live on a Tuesday night, but what I'm about to mention is not going to be very relevant for Saturday morning, but we are still watching severe weather coverage in our area, and I just talked to Meg Summers and Mary Kay just a couple of minutes ago, which is in our Town Square Media Center. Just went in just to get a quick update. These guys are able to watch the weather, and we monitor this daily, and we have been very busy afternoon. I know they've got a tree down on Queen City Avenue down Queen City and 10th Street. So that's the conversation. I'll try to get some of the other coverage. Go ahead, Bryant.
So that's right around where I live, so thank you for telling me.
So make sure you have an alternative plan
yes,
there.
Absolutely.
So severe weather coverage made possible by Safety Shelter, and we're monitoring this and for all the updates. And this is the great thing about serving our community in so many different ways with 7-8 stations that we partner together and get all the coverage out. We've dealt with a lot of heavy wind. But we're going to talk some football here for the next hour. But if there's anything that we need to break in and get to you, we'll do that as we talk. But Alabama drafted 10 NFL guys, 8 of those from the offensive side of the football. Martin Houston, I hope your day is going well. Welcome into Alabama Tradition, the past, present, and future of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Things are going well, Ryan, and glad to be in. Been a few weeks, but glad to be back.
It has been, but it's good news on the NFL draft side for the University of Alabama. I have not been able to listen to the Martin Houston Show mornings beginning at 6 a.m. here on Tide 100.9. What's been your big takeaway from the NFL draft?
Well, we spent some time on the Dylan Moses saga and story. Then just talking about where do you put Nick Saban, Ryan, with what he's done. Right now he has more first-round draft picks in a 14-year window than he has losses. So we looked at a stat, and I don't know if you've seen this yet. If you take the top 20 teams minus Alabama, so 2 through 21, 8 of those teams, based on the most players drafted, okay? So of the top 20 teams, 8 of those were on Alabama's schedule this year, okay? So think about that for a second. Then you break it down to like the top 16 was like 6, 7. Then when you get to the top 6 teams, 5 of them were on Alabama's schedule, and teams 2, 3, 4, and 5 in terms of the draft, 10, 9, 8, and 8, all on Alabama's schedule. So Nick Saban didn't just beat the SEC. The Notre Dame and Ohio State that was on his schedule had the second most players drafted outside of Alabama, and he shellacked all of them this year. Thus, 5 first-rounders in on the offensive side of the ball, and that's what you have with this 2020 team, potentially the best one, offensively for sure, that Nick Saban's ever put together.
Well, and we were talking about this earlier. 8 out of the 10 on the offensive side of the football. If I would have bet on Nick Saban getting 10 guys drafted, I would have bet on the defensive side of the football. Now, I know last year, when you look at the 2020 draft, they put about 50-50 when you look at offensive guys and defensive guys. But this year, 8 out of 10, it just kind of solidifies that maybe we were watching one of the greatest offensive teams in the history of college sports.
Yeah, but, Ryan, you have to give credit to their predecessors because they made the transition. Think about this. In the last 2 drafts, 3 quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds and 4 wide receivers. And how many running backs? 2 running backs?
Yes, 2 running backs.
Oh, well, no, Jacobs was the year before, right?
Was he?
Yeah, Jacobs was the year before.
He was. I'm sorry. You're right.
But he's still part of that trend. But in the last 2 years, you've had 8 skill players, and if you count Landon Dickerson, you've had what's his name? You had 10 offensive guys go.
I mean, as you're sitting here going through, could you build a team? Could you build an offensive unit with last year and this year's draft prospects?
Just about. You have a center.
And you have 2 tackles, right? You got Jedrick and Alex Leatherwood.
Yep.
And you got a guard and Deontay Brown.
Yep.
And you got 4 wide receivers and a running back and a quarterback.
The only thing you don't have is another guard.
I thought you were about to say fullback. I just knew that's where you were going.
And no tight end. But we would go with this offense. We go 4 wide.
Right. I mean, but think about that. If you put those 10 guys or those 11 guys, if you're trying to build a team, but if you put those guys out there, you'd have a pretty solid team.
Yes, Ryan. And
2 quarterback system. 2 quarterback system.
Yeah, you think about the accolades, man. You just think about the transition of a coach who was known for being a defensive-minded coach and his ability to remain great by becoming known for the exact opposite. When you really think about it, 1 draft ago, he had a number 1 top 5 pick at quarterback and 2 wide receivers in the top, 15, 16 draft pick. He comes back the next year and puts 2 wide receivers and a quarterback in the top 15. In back-to-back drafts. I mean, in a running back being taken at number 24, is that not the equivalent in today's draft of a top 10 pick?
It is. Sure it is. At that position, it is.
Yes. I mean, and then you have an offensive lineman that everybody else says is going to go in the bottom of the round, and he goes, 16. And then you have another offensive lineman, Ryan, who, had he not torn his ACL, you have to assume that he probably would have been a first-round draft pick in Landon Dickerson, where he went based on the fact that he was a second-round pick.
And if you add
with a torn ACL,
if you add health back, if you added the health back to there, that he goes up a few spots. He has to.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Just amazing what we've had the privilege of watching, and in our case, covering. Sports guys. It really, really is an amazing thing. Let me ask you a question, Ryan. Do you think I told on my show, you asked me earlier what we talked about. I said one of the most surefire picks ever. I think the biggest waste of time was the 10 minutes they took to pick Trevor Lawrence, because he's been the overall number 1 pick since he was in the 8th grade. We just had to wait on it to get here. But would you say that Najee Harris to the Steelers was probably the absolute second most guaranteed pick if Najee was on the board?
Wow. Great question. Because it seemed like the mock draft guys nailed that one. I mean, they had that one picked up. And I think they would have nailed Patrick Surtain to the Cowboys, but Denver had other plans of kind of disrupting it.
Right.
It threw the entire Dallas Cowboy draft off by slipping in. I don't think they were ready for it. I don't think they had a plan because they traded back, which allowed Devontae Smith to go to Philadelphia.
Yeah, they traded back, and they traded back with an in-conference rival. So it threw them for a loop. They had to back up and go, okay, where do we go now? So I just thought that was an interesting thing because that's the one pick that never moved. Like Zach Wilson at number 2 was a lock by the time the draft got here, but Najee to the Steelers was talked about from the time the season ended and the draft order was set. And I think he's going to be absolutely amazing there.
Martin, what is when you think about it, and we could talk this out. Look at the positions, okay? Alabama's got 3 snappers. They got 86 guys, I think, that are from the University of Alabama that currently have a roster spot in the National Football League. That many guys right now in this draft. I mean, over 80 guys. Some of these guys will be cut, but I mean, you got 3 snappers, all the wide receivers. When you look at it, I mean, I kind of thought about this. What's been the weakest position group for Nick Saban? It's not wide receivers. I mean, now they've got, you have 4
wide receivers. Go ahead.
What you think of the strength? Is that where you were going?
I said I put a poll question up the other day. Is Alabama now wide receiver U based on the results, the selection, and the results? Because running backs they've been hit and miss as far as superstars. Linebackers have been hit and miss as far as superstars, D-line. The only position that has left here that has been drafted, Ryan, that has left here in all. I'm talking about the Robert Fosters and the Cam Sims of the world are even playing at a high level. They didn't even play here, and when they get to the league, man, they're making the rosters. And the ones that are going in the first round, there's been no bust yet. There's been no disappointment yet. Of the guys who have drafted and had a chance to play more than 1 year, you'd have to say what, Ridley or Amari. I mean, who's been bad?
Well, and Atlanta just picked up Calvin Ridley's team option for 2022, $11 million. So they expect production out of him. I mean, it's just when you look at this Alabama, I was just talking with a draft analyst as my show ended, and I was talking about when you look at the University of Alabama, is there a better coach in college football history that has put more players in the league? He said it's not even close. I mean, he broke Joe Paterno's record. He broke a 1967 record with number of picks in the first 2 rounds. So he tied Miami in the first round. He broke, and really it wasn't completely even in all the second round. He did it within the first 10 picks of the second round. So it was not even like a half of another round. So he put 8 guys in the first 40 picks in the National Football League draft. I mean, just like I'm losing adjectives to describe what's happening.
Let's break that down, Ryan. When you say in the first, whatever, he had 8 guys in the first 38 picks, right?
He did, yes.
So that's over
a
20%.
It's a record.
But say the percent, Ryan. That's over 20%. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 Alabama. 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 Every 5th pick, pretty much, was Alabama. Back that up. There was 5 guys taken in the first. 6 guys taken in the first 24. That's 1 in 4, right?
It is. I mean, I'm looking at it. It's 26.3%.
So, I mean, that's the beauty of it, Ryan, is that did you see his interview on draft night?
It looked like a if you would have went to the labor and delivery ward, the floor, maybe that'd be a better way to play. If you'd have went to the labor and delivery floor at DCH, You couldn't have found a brighter smile than what Nick Saban put on television.
Did you hear what he said?
Some of it.
Yeah, well, here's to your point. I think that the NFL did Nick Saban a favor. He was supposed to go on about draft. I'm going to pick probably like 21, 22. They went to a commercial because they were having technical difficulties. Then they end up bringing him on right after Najee. I think that was like they realized, oh my God, he could tie the record if we go take one more break. Well, they come back and they're talking to him, and they said, "Well, how do you feel?" He said, "I feel like a proud papa."
Well, see, I didn't hear that part, and I was just kind of judging from the just his face.
That's exactly what he said. I feel like a proud papa. But Ryan, that's also what he promises those parents, right?
It is
when he's recruiting.
It is.
That was not. He didn't use those words loosely. He tells those parents, "I will be like a dad to them, and I promise that if you let your son come play for me, I am going to. He's going to graduate. He's going to play for championships, and I'm going to help him become a better young man. I'm gonna treat them like they're my own. I'm going to be like a proud papa." And that's what he did. And you cannot recruit against that. Think about this, Ryan. 3 years ago, when you and I were covering Alabama football, even though he was already on staff, what were the recruiting words? Guys don't want to come here and play wide receiver. Alabama, with Jalen Hurts as quarterback, is going to struggle to get wide receiver commitments, right?
They
were. Remember that?
I do remember what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, that was the conversation. Fast forward, in Ohio State, one of the first players to take advantage of the transfer rule, wide receiver from Ohio State, coming to Alabama.
Well, and you said it as you opened up that last comment. It's unfair to almost recruit against the University of Alabama. I mean, think about it, Martin. And I got to go to break because Bryant's giving me the sign. Come back on the other side. I mean, I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes here to kind of debate this. Tell me what you would tell a recruit if you're following Nick Saban. Let's say that you're walking in and you're a recruit and you're looking for a lot. What do you tell a guy to rebuttal what Nick Saban just told the recruit? We'll talk about that. That's Martin Houston. I'm Ryan Fowler. This is Alabama Tradition, the past, present, and future of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
America, we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. By honoring your sacred vocation of business, you impact your family, your friends, and your community. At Grand Canyon University, our MBA degree program is 100% online, with emphases in business analytics and finance to help you reach your goals. Find your purpose at GCU. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
Pat's Florist in downtown Tuscaloosa. Over 55 years of serving Tuscaloosa in West Alabama. They're open 8 until 5, Monday through Friday, 8:30 until 12:30 on Saturday, specializing in that large inventory of fresh flowers, the weddings, the gourmet, and the fruit baskets. Always an option. Delivery options. It's more than just flowers. Pat's Florist, 1010 Queen City Avenue in downtown Tuscaloosa. Pat's Florist and Gourmet Basket.
Attention real estate investors. Are you looking to diversify your investments in a growing industry and collect frequent income? You should check out Image Studios Salon Suites. We offer an investment opportunity where real estate comes together with beauty and wellness. We rent turnkey studios to beauty professionals and are on track to have over 100 locations open this year across the country. Image Studios is a unique investment opportunity, and we're building an incredible team of high-caliber entrepreneurs from coast to coast. We're the leader in the industry and poised for tremendous growth. Interested in owning your own Image Studios franchise? Contact us today. Visit imagestudiosfranchise.com to find out more. That's imagestudiosfranchise.com. Attention real estate investors. Are you looking to diversify your investments in a growing industry and collect frequent income? You should check out Image Studios Salon Suites. We offer an investment opportunity where real estate comes together with beauty and wellness. We rent turnkey studios to beauty professionals and are on track to have over 100 locations open this year across the country. Image Studios is a unique investment opportunity, and we're building an incredible team of high-caliber entrepreneurs from coast to coast. We're the leader in the industry and poised for tremendous growth. Interested in owning your own Image Studios franchise? Contact us today. Visit imagestudiosfranchise.com to find out more. That's imagestudiosfranchise.com.
Rumors.
It's awesome. You having no fun? Have some fun, man.
Talking Alabama Crimson Tide football on Alabama Tradition with Martin Houston and Ryan Fowler in Tuscaloosa on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Well, my name's John Lee Pettimore, same as my daddy and his daddy before. You hardly ever saw Granddaddy down here. They only come to town about twice a year.
All right, so Martin and I were spending a little time here looking at what Alabama was able to put in the NFL draft, and it just, the history speaks for itself. You've got 39 picks from the University of Alabama in the first round, another record-setting year. We were talking about, let's say that you're a parent and you're sitting down with your five-star son, regardless of position, and Nick Saban walks into your living room and you serve him the oatmeal Little Debbie cookies, and then someone else comes in right behind Nick Saban, maybe the next day, and he sits down and you invite him in to recruit your son. If you're that coach, what do you tell that recruit? What do you counter? What do you rebuttal Nick Saban with? He just walked out. What are you going to say that he didn't already say and what he promised you? Martin, what would you tell the recruit if you're recruiting against Nick Saban?
Well, Ryan, I think the first thing you have to do is just be honest with the kids. Let them know up front, you're not Nick Saban. You're not the University of Alabama program, but you are a D1 program, and you present an opportunity that very few people have the opportunity to to take advantage of. And the selling tool is your school, what you offer as a person. And then, of course, the big thing, what we're talking about right now is him putting people in the league. And that's where you say it is impressive what Nick Saban has done. And the fact that he's had 5 years in a row where he sent 9 or more players to the league. But there are 200, even with his success that he's had, even the success he had this year, there is 249 other spots to get drafted. If you come to my school, I can't promise you that it'll be 10 in the year that you go out, but I can promise you that I will give you every tool, every opportunity, and every chance to use your skill set and develop you into a player that can be one of those 259 guys that will be drafted.
Well, and it just kind of gives you an example. I'm not picking on Auburn here for a minute, but I am picking on Auburn. When you look at a poster that they put out earlier today, and, you look at Alabama, and they're putting out posters of draft picks and, the number of money that these guys have all made. And it's pretty, crazy when you look at the amount of money that this NFL draft class will make when you look at the guaranteed salaries. And these are already in terms of slotted picks and the number of money that you get. But Auburn put out a tweet, and it put out their coaching staff, and it created a V. And they've got all their guys and even guys that you're familiar with when you look at Will Friend, the offensive line coach at the University of Alabama, Will Friend. I played at the University of Alabama, but he's the offensive line coach. You go to Mike Bobo, offensive coordinator. You go to Cadillac Williams, somebody we're very familiar with here. But you go through their staff, and this is the billboard that they put in. 152 combined years of coaching experience, 30 collective conference championships, 82 combined bowl games coached. And they list the players down on the bottom, and there's not one player from Auburn. They just list the players that their coaches have been involved with at the NFL, and there's not one guy from Auburn. It's not one guy who played at Auburn. Not one guy. They've got guys like Matthew Stafford, A.J. Green. You go through Kellen Moore, which played at Boise State, Michael Gallup, who played at Ohio State, Richard Sherman, Isaiah Wynn. Todd Gurley, Vander Esch out at Dallas, a linebacker, played at Boise State. It's like not one guy. So you're having to counter saying that, well, we did this at other places and we'll do it here. That's the way that they're countering what you and I are talking about.
Yeah, and really, Ryan, that's about all the message you can do. You think about kudos to a young man. I want to give a shout out to Seth Williams,
Sure.
Ryan. First ever kid to be drafted that played at Bryant High School. First one ever to make it at that level. So kudos to him. Kudos to Bryant High School Paul W. Bryant High School for that accomplishment. But Ryan, think about the year he came out, and he was an Auburn wide receiver who 4 guys signed at Alabama that same year, or 3 guys, and he would have been the 4th guy. And of course, then Waddle signed the next year, right? Something like that.
Yeah, you're right. You're dead on. I think I know where you're going.
And I mean, you now moving forward. I mean, Nick Saban's going to get to pick his skill positions. He's going to get to pick every. But Auburn, the best that they had, and kudos to the young man. But that's the best that they had to offer at that position in an offensive game. It's an offensive-minded game, and Nick Saban put 4 wide receivers in the league in pretty much in one calendar season. One calendar year. 2 football seasons.
Well, and this is hard to say, Martin. I don't want it to walk away people saying, well, he's taking a shot at Seth Williams, because I'm not. I'm not. I'm very proud.
I'm not either.
But when you look at, let's say Seth Williams ends up in a crimson uniform, I would bet you every money I have that in an account, in a checking account, that Seth Williams would have been taken higher than round 6.
Seth Williams would have been a 1st or 2nd round draft pick at Alabama.
He would have been. So that's the decision that these kids are making. They either go, well, I'll go and I'll fight my way out of that depth chart in Tuscaloosa, or I'll go and I'll get paid this at another school.
Yeah, Seth Williams would have been a 1st round draft pick or 2nd round at worst case had he came to Alabama, because he would have been taught more than – you can't teach what he has, size, athletic ability, etc. How to routes, how to get over, how to work within a route system. And that's not something they did at Auburn under Gus Malzahn. And you even heard him mention that before about, developing the route tree. Well, that hurt those Auburn guys. And that's the same thing that hurt, what his name, Schwartz, as well.
Well, Martin, you've been talking about route trees at Auburn for as long as I can remember. I mean, you go back. I mean, you were pointing this out at the early steps of what Gus's tenure there at Auburn. You kept saying this, that his route trees are elementary, and that was something that you've pointed out for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, and if people are listening and don't really know what that means, is that's what Homer Smith taught us when we played way back in the late 80s, early 90s. And he believes that if you run your routes correctly, there are windows within a zone, if they're in a zone, that you can know which zones are going to be open. And if one guy covers differently than what you expect, then the read just goes to the next window and so on and so forth. Or in man, you run enough routes where guys are having to think about basketball when you run pick and rolls and things like that, Ryan, and the defense has to figure out, am I going to in basketball, they have to figure out, am I going to go underneath the pick? Am I going to go over it? Am I going to fight through it? And you can create your routes. And that's what Sarkisian, you go back and look, man, Sarkisian would run routes, run plays, and Kiffin did it as well. They would run a play on this series, Ryan, to get a reaction from the defense and then called it to play the next series that they were really setting up. How many times have we seen Kiffin hold up his hand on the sideline at Alabama because he knew when he saw the defense, he made the adjustment to the play call, he knew how they were going to react. That was because his route trees were built in such a way that the next time they would start on a crossing route that went to a go route, slant and go, a sluggo, as you hear people say a lot. Well, he run that slant over and over and over till he got that DB jumping on it. And then the next time he knew that when he called it, he could just make one little tweak to that route and knew that guy was going to jump it. So Auburn just didn't have that. That's why they had so many big wide receivers, because a lot of his routes and completions depend on 50-50 balls.
Martin, you and I have spoke about this in the past. I'm not sure that we spoke about this recently, but I go back to the NFL draft, and maybe I did. Maybe I brought this up last Friday with you and I talking. But, we talk a lot about name, image, and likeness. Alabama has launched a big committee talking about the advantage, and I think they're going to do a great job of trying to find a way to create this name, image, and likeness. I still have doubts if the NCAA can govern all this, because I think it really opens up a recruiting can of worms that they can't even control what's happening right now. You add another pressure to them, and that's not a reason not to do it, but it's a lot of management when you look at the NCAA and how you can invite that. But let's put that on the side for just a couple of seconds here. When you're trying to look at Dylan Moses, I cannot get this out of my head. Why we don't we this is the problem with the NCAA that I'm trying to explain. It's so mixed up. Well, you got the NBA doing this, you got the NFL doing this, you got Major League Baseball drafting players here. They're going after your talent, and there's all these different rules that are just not that they're not equal when we talk about the way that they govern it. NBA player, we got Alabama players right now that are going out. Primo, one of those guys, looking out and trying to see, well, where am I evaluated at? And then a month out, you make the decision. I'm not sure. Maybe it's 3 weeks out. You make the decision to come back. I've said it multiple times. If you really care about these student athletes, do things that they can financially benefit from. Not, a free hot dog and a Coke for doing an autograph signing. Allow these guys to come back. Dylan Moses comes back. He proves that he's healthy. I can promise you he's at least drafted in 2022.
Yes, I think so, Ryan. But I think it's the NCAA and the NFL. Think about the NFL right now, Ryan. Could you imagine if you were the Atlanta Braves and you had a Nick Saban coaching your minor league team?
Great point.
I mean, your AAA team is coached by Nick Saban. That's what the NFL has. Why would they mess with that? They're going to do everything they can to keep everything status quo, keep players in college longer, keep them there. Now, the one thing that I do not understand that I don't get why they don't push or allow a little leniency on, and the NCAA get on board with it, is the a little longer test run to see. I think if a kid, if they were to adjust it, to me, as long as the kid made a decision about coming back before spring practice started, and I'm not even saying up that close to the draft, but you think the Alabama players literally played their last game and the following week, for the most part, they've had to make a decision, right? they're not even getting the benefit like a lot of the other schools.
And it's one that I really haven't thought about, but it's true. I mean, they don't get that soak-in time. I mean, sometimes it's 24 to 48 hours. They got to flip and make a decision.
Yes, and you have these other schools that's been finished playing since December, and maybe they had a few weeks, but most of them have had a significant amount of time where they didn't have either they had a game that didn't matter in terms of the bowl games, because whatever people say, the bowl games are, I like them because it gives a reward, but they're slowly losing value. But give these players and young men a chance to talk for more than a week. Give them up until, end of February to go through some process. Let them go through some testing, expand the number of people who can come to Combine, and give them a look-see and see where they match up and what they're saying, because what the college doctors tell them versus what the NFL doctors, think about the clout of the NFL doctors, Ryan. That has nothing to do with whether you really can play or not. Drew Brees, right?
Yeah.
Drew Brees is a classic example of a guy who not only played, was able to play after a surgery. He went on to have a Hall of Fame career. But I'm not saying that Dylan Moses won't, but a doctor had the potential to have ruined Drew Brees' Hall of Fame career. What if the Saints guy had said the same thing? And that's where Dylan Moses found himself with the medical of, but if he could have, as you said, tested it, oh man, we don't even have you on our draft board. And then he got a chance to come back. Now all of a sudden you're looking at, it helps the college game because you have a Dylan Moses back in college. It helps Dylan Moses because he has a chance to rehab or get better. Let me throw a question to you, Ryan, as we go to break. You talk about, you left me with one of those questions. Does the Dylan Moses saga of a kid who, after his sophomore year, you will not find a single analyst that would not have had him projected as a first-round pick?
Oh, I know where you're going. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it to me, Martin.
Sophomore year, and he has to come back and play his junior, have to come back and play. Will the fact of his results, and this year, I think it was 6 or 7 guys, Ryan, in the first round this year that did not play college football last year. Will that combination of his fall in the draft, the success of those who did not play last year, some of them only having 1 year of film, sit out, and the name, image, and likeness, will we see sophomores of the caliber of Dylan Moses and Jadeveon Clowney and guys like that, Fournettes of the world, will we see them start setting out their junior years and getting ready for the NFL draft?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's come back and we'll talk about that. That's a great question. It's one that really I haven't thought about. But, I guess that's why we do the brainstorming session that we call Alabama Tradition, the past, present, and future of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Attention real estate investors. Are you looking to diversify your investments in a growing industry and collect frequent income? You should check out Image Studios Salon Suites. We offer an investment opportunity where real estate comes together with beauty and wellness. We rent turnkey studios to beauty professionals and are on track to have over 100 locations open this year across the country. Image Studios is a unique investment opportunity, and we're building an incredible team of high-caliber entrepreneurs from coast to coast. We're the leader in the industry and poised for tremendous growth. Interested in owning your own Image Studios franchise? Contact us today. Visit imagestudiosfranchise.com to find out more. That's imagestudiosfranchise.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Showers and thunderstorms are likely this afternoon and early tonight. The storms could be severe. They will be capable of producing hail, damaging straight-line winds, possibly a few isolated tornadoes. The high today, 83. Tonight's low at 60. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 65 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The host of the game, Ryan Fowler, and the host of the Martin Houston Show, Martin Houston, have combined to offer a show filled with in-depth analysis of Alabama football and more. Alabama Tradition broadcasts live on Tide 100.9 every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. and is available live and on playback on numerous affiliates around the Southeast. Check out alabamatradition.com for a list of affiliates, as well as other great content.
Country music singers have always been a real close family. But lately, some of my kinfolks have disowned.
So Twang Tuesday is continuing. Twang Tuesday. We do it from 2 until 6. And I don't guess we got the message that it ends at 6. But Bryant said it does not end at 6.
It never ends.
This is like Bryant's day.
Bryant, do I get a vote?
Yeah, Martin gets a vote. I mean, he's at least got a third of this. Martin, how would you vote?
I'm okay, I guess. I don't really have a preference for music other than gospel music, so contemporary Christian music. So I guess I guess I can deal with it. What was that Hank about to ask me? Why do I go smoke? Why? Huh?
You know, and the crazy part of that song is it's actually catchy. Like it's catchy.
Yeah.
So it's something that no, and neither one of us drink or neither one of us smoke, but
that's right.
It's hey, but it got us in and out of the break. Martin, I go. Well, it people are listening are just rolling, but. In the final couple of minutes, I let that one marinate a little bit. And, Martin, I'll take it even a step further because I want to answer your question. You asked me if it would increase more people sitting out. And I think the answer is yes. If you look at the Dylan Moses story.
Let me give you one other piece of information before you do that.
Okay.
No one talked about this. I can't remember exactly how you say his name. For your listeners in the whole world, my COVID brain effect is I have a hard time remembering names now. So hopefully that'll eventually get better.
Are you kidding or are you actually?
No,
serious?
I'm serious. I'm very serious.
Okay.
I mean, it's really bad and frustrating, especially doing radio where you have to remember all these guys from all these places and eras. But the young man that played for Miami this year, he set out. His mom was a nurse. Rosia or something like that is his name. And his mom was a nurse, and he set out because, Miami and Florida was an epicenter of COVID. And he made the statement, I was so glad that mom was able to set out because I was able to get marketing deals. And then they just went away from it and went back to talking. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, I did.
He was a young man. He was a 32nd pick of the draft from Miami. And he literally said he spent this past year making enough money that his RN mother at Miami Hospital there was able to take the year off because he was able to make money. So add that to what I asked you before the break.
I mean, they're just too much me to comprehend. But I mean, when you do look at this, and I mean, we haven't really even spent that much time with name, image, and likeness. But I mean, you talk about endorsements, you tie all this together. When you look at it and the incentive to be there, I'll tell you what else that it almost sets up with what you asked me to hurt places like Alabama, because I've often countered this message of Alabama players play injured. Alabama players play injured. No, they don't. They know if they set down that the fifth the second string guy behind him is a fifth, 5-star. The third string guy is a 4-star. And if I give him the opportunity, I may never see the play field again. And so it's kind of an incentive to go, I'm going to play through this. If you're in a place like Auburn or Tennessee or Mississippi State or somewhere else, you're like, hey, man, I keep going, or I'll set it out, and I know that my job will be there when I come back. So when you look at Dylan Moses to go back, I don't want it to, but I think it will happen. Because there's going to be people that are going to be whispering. And unfortunately, they get a lot of bad advice, and I think kids get bad advice when they come out. But I think there's going to be that person
before this,
that's
though. We talked about it. We talked about it that it was a possibility, right? We talked. See, I'm telling you, I'm bad with names. A young man played at UCLA, was a linebacker, running back, got injured. Jack, I think was his name. He got hurt early on in the season. He didn't play a whole season. The rest of the season, he just worked out. We saw, a young man from Ohio State last year, him and his brother. I told you, man, I'm not joking about the name thing. It's really crazy.
All right. So
you know what I'm talking about?
So are you talking 2021 or 2020? 2020.
2020. His brother plays for the Chargers. The other guy, he had the abdominal injury.
Okay, now Ohio State. I thought you were talking about UCLA. I was looking up the running back.
No, UCLA Kelly. Was the Jack kid. He was, I think his last name was Jack. And then you had the defensive end, the brothers. The brother plays for the Chargers.
Oh,
he
Bosa.
plays for,
Bosa. Nick Bosa. Yeah, right. Yeah.
He didn't come back. Well, all of those guys had started their season, their junior season, and got hurt. We had not had an example of a guy just not playing. Okay? 2 of the top 10 players, 2 of the top 7 players in the NFL draft, Ryan, did not play. One guy, the number 5 pick, had 1 year of really good film. Jamar Chase. With Burrow. And he gets drafted number 5. Waddle did not play most of the season and goes in front of his teammate, Heisman Trophy winning, greatest wide receiver season ever, potentially, and the best one in 30 years. The guy who didn't play the rest of the season went in front of him. So I just think you're setting a stage. And then when they hear that they can make money, Ryan, and the fact that they could be out, they said, I saw one thing that they said, if the name, image, and likeness thing had passed when Tua was a senior or junior, that he would have made over $400,000 on his social media account.
Wow.
Just projecting. And that was without him working it, Ryan. That's without this advantage or whatever that Alabama is getting ready to start and launch. It's going to teach them how to do it. Ryan, think about this. I was at Kobe's and a young lady was there, and she had 182,000 followers. And and we were sitting there eating, and she put out her camera, and while we were waiting, she recorded a video of her scratching off lottery tickets. And people were paying for that. So I don't know that it's going to hurt the Alabamas of the world, Ryan, because it's about name and notoriety.
Well, maybe I just don't understand that. Because so did that happen here in Tuscaloosa?
What I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, this student, she was a senior at the university, no athlete at all. She was just a everyday student.
She made money off people watching her on a video. Wow. I mean,
on YouTube. Yes.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong business.
Yeah, she literally just makes a video of her scratching off, and people watch that, and YouTube has sponsors that pay them, and they put them on her page. She makes a killing doing it, actually, not just a little bit. And so that's the crazy thing is And here's the thing, Ryan. I used to think the same way you did. I thought, man, this is going to hurt Alabama because there's going to be so many more opportunities in California and et cetera. Well, not really. Who was better known than Tua Tagovailoa coming out of? You think the kids in California were better known, or Tua was better known?
Yeah, it's no doubt. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
No, so it's the brand. So then it really becomes unfair to recruit against Nick Saban. I mean, if he's able to walk in, it already is unfair. But if they're able to walk in and do what we're sitting here talking about, I don't know what you do. I mean, like I don't know if it. I mean, they may try to shut us down or move us to the NFL because it's such an unfair advantage.
Well, right. What you're going to see with the name, image, and likeness, and the fact that Alabama is on national television every game, right? Alabama's on television every game. And so the players are going to get their names broadcast all over the place. So the name, image, and likeness is going to benefit Alabama. But you know what else is going to benefit Alabama? A couple, and this is going to sound really, really bad. A couple, if they let us trade within the SEC or transfer within the SEC, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Ole Miss, they're going to become minor leagues for Alabama. You're going to have a guy go there for 1-2 years, show that he can do it, and then he's going to transfer to Alabama. Then you're going to have the backups at Alabama transferring to these other places.
Martin, they're going to kick us out. They're going to kick us out. I mean, we're going to be exited out of the SEC. We're not. I mean, but it's there, like Nick Saban said. I mean, this kind of reminds me of that. Do you really want college football to go this direction? Do you really want it to go that direction? That's the same thing.
He said that. He said that about this. He said the rich are going to get richer. And what he means by that is the starters at other schools are going to transfer to the Alabamas. So the good and great players are going to transfer in. Bad or young players are going to transfer out. So will Alabama have as much depth? Maybe not as much depth, Brian, but they'll have 1, 2, 3 guys like they had at the wide receiver position. They'll be like that at every position, where when the next guy leaves, the guy behind him is going to be a first-round draft pick as well. And you're going to see that. I think that's where it's going to go. And then with the name, image, and likeness, the more these guys work together. And I think Alabama's brilliant. I mean, brilliant move to see it coming. Because I literally told this young lady, because of her background and her major, you know what I told her, Ryan?
What'd you say?
I said, you need to start a business, because she had talked about interviewing Najee Harris and a couple relationships and stuff like that. And I said, someone's going to have to teach these players how to build their social media accounts. You can have a business. You have the creative skill, you have the practical skill, and you know how to connect with your generation that's going to be looking at these football players. And I told her, I said, I wouldn't go after the football players. I said, I would go after the softball and gymnastics and stuff like that. And she was like, and this may sound gross and nasty and all this stuff, but I'm just real. And she said, why? I said, because young ladies who know how to use this, who are attractive, will have more followers than even the knothead football players. And she said, I don't understand that. Why? I said, because knothead men, people ain't going to talk about this, Ryan, but this is going to become part of it. They want to follow the pretty girls.
You know I'm a dreamer.
Martin Houston, I feel like I've brainstormed for the last hour. We have not been able to do lunch, so it was almost like we're catching up on the air. I'm not able to do the lunch tomorrow. I got a client that I got to meet with, but I might be able to do lunch Thursday. We got to brainstorm again. I mean, you've given me my content for tomorrow.
Well, that's what it's here for, man.
That's Martin Houston with Alabama Tradition. We got James Ludeman coming up, Title Talk, 7 until 10. James and all the crew going to be coming in, and I'm sure they'll be talking about a lot of the things that we're talking about. Martin Houston will wake you up tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. right here on Tide 100.9. Big thanks to Bryant for managing everything behind the scenes. We've had fun talking Alabama Crimson Tide football. Let's do it again next time, right here on Alabama Tradition, the past, present, future of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
You know that I've seen too many romantic dreams, open lights falling off the silver screen.
Attention real estate investors. Are you looking to diversify your investments in a growing industry and collect frequent income? You should check out Image Studios Salon Suites. We offer an investment opportunity where real estate comes together with beauty and wellness. We rent turnkey studios to beauty professionals and are on track to have over 100 locations open this year across the country. Image Studios is a unique investment opportunity, and we're building an incredible team of high-caliber entrepreneurs from coast to coast. We're the leader in the industry and poised for tremendous growth. Interested in owning your own Image Studios franchise? Contact us today. Visit imagestudiosfranchise.com to find out more. That's imagestudiosfranchise.com.